This is the central challenge of science communication. We are competing for the single most valuable resource in the modern world, your attention. And when a truly historic object, a messenger from another star, enters our solar system, the temptation to sensationalize is immense. You will see the thumbnails. Alien probe detected. NASA in panic over comet's course. These visuals are traps. They are designed to exploit curiosity and twist it into fear, all for a single empty click. They promise an adrenaline rush, but deliver a void. This is the promise of deception. We choose a different path. The path of disciplined intrigue. The story of an interstellar comet like Three Eyes Atlas is not a cheap horror movie. It is a deep, complex, cinematic mystery. The truth is more compelling than any fabrication. Our job is to create a visual promise that reflects the real science. A promise that we can and will fulfill. A thumbnail is a contract with the viewer. It must be intriguing, but it must not be a lie. The human mind is not just drawn to explosions, it is drawn to questions. A thumbnail showing a photoshopped alien mothership is a boring, dead-end statement. It has no intellectual tension. But a thumbnail showing a faint, green glowing comet next to the planet Mars, that is a question. Why green? Why Mars? It implies a connection, a story, a puzzle to be solved. A thumbnail that shows a sharp spike pointing toward the sun, labeled anti-tail, defies our expectations. It creates a knowledge gap. The viewer instinctively wants to close that gap. This is the engine of true, sustainable curiosity. The data we have for Three Eye Atlas is a scriptwriter's dream. We have a confirmed CO2-dominated coma. We have reports of a strange green glow. We have a documented Mars flyby on October 3rd, 2025. We have a bizarre sun-pointing anti-tail. We have unconfirmed, puzzling spectral lines of nickel without iron. We do not need to invent monsters. The data is the monster. Our challenge is to craft the visual metaphors, the key art, that honor this data. We must create thumbnails that intrigue without deceiving, that pose the question the scientists are actually asking, and that prime you to receive the real, spectacular answer. Let's deconstruct the most common visual trope, the green comet. This is a perfect test case for honesty. A comet glowing green in the dark void is an image of immense power. It feels alien. It feels unnatural. And for Three Eye Atlas, a comet already confirmed to be from another star, the temptation is to lean into that. But what is the truth of the green glow? Many comets glow green. The recent visitor, C2022 E3 ZTF, was a famous example. This color is not a mystery. It is a well-documented chemical signature known as the swan bands. It is the light of a simple molecule, dicarbon, or C2, which is just two carbon atoms bonded together. Reports suggest Three Eye Atlas is also showing emissions from C2 and cyanogen, CN. The process is a beautiful two-step dance of destruction. First, ultraviolet UV sunlight streams from the sun and hits the comet's coma. It shatters larger parent molecules, like acetylene, that are boiling off the nucleus. This breakage frees the C2 molecule. Then, that same UV sunlight energizes the C2 molecule, causing it to fluoresce, to re-emit light, specifically in the green part of the spectrum. But here is the scientific payoff. The key fact that must inform our visual. That same UV light also destroys the C2 molecule very quickly, a process called photodissociation. It has a very short lifespan in the coma. Because the C2 molecule is destroyed so fast, it never has time to be pushed back by the solar wind into the comet's tail. This leads to a clear, falsifiable observation. A comet's head, its coma, can be green, but its tail will not be. The tail is made of dust, which reflects sunlight and looks yellow-white, or ions, which glow blue. But the green C2 signature is confined to the nucleus. Here, the honest thumbnail creates itself. A deceptive thumbnail shows a solid green nucleus, or a comet with a long, bright green tail. It's visually loud, but it's a scientific lie. An honest thumbnail uses this science as its guide. It becomes a visual metaphor for the process. It shows a dark, rocky nucleus, as it should be. It surrounds this nucleus with a faint, gaseous, transparent green halo, the coma, and critically, it depicts the tail as a different color, like dusty white or yellow. This visual instantly tells a more sophisticated story. It poses a question. Why is only the coma green? The thumbnail is no longer a cheap spectacle. It is a piece of evidence. It is the first clue in the mystery, a direct visualization of the chemical data we are about to explain. After the green coma, the second most sensational visual is the anti-tail. This is a feature that has been documented in Comet 3 in Atlas. A deceptive thumbnail will show a comet with two tails in opposite directions, one pointing away from the sun and one pointing at it. This image is an apparent paradox. It looks impossible, as if the comet is defying the laws of physics. This, too, is a deception. The anti-tail is almost always a beautiful, elegant geometric illusion. A comet nucleus is not just gas. It is a dirty snowball. As its gains, volatiles, like CO2 vaporize, they carry dust, refractory particles off the surface. The solar wind is very weak. It can only push the smallest, lightest particles, gas ions, and fine dust to create the familiar streaming tail. The heavy dust grains, the ones that are pebble-sized or larger, are unaffected. They are too massive to be moved by sunlight. When they leave the nucleus, they are simply left behind, continuing to orbit the sun in the exact same orbital plane as the comet itself. Over time, the comet pollutes its own orbit, creating a thin, flat sheet of debris, like a phantom version of Saturn's rings. This is the key. An anti-tail is not a thing, it is an event. It only becomes visible to us on Earth when our own orbital path crosses the orbital plane of that comet. When that alignment happens, our line of sight looks along the edge of that flat dust sheet. This vast, curved, three-dimensional disk of debris suddenly collapses, from our perspective, into a single sharp, bright line. And because of the geometry of the two orbits, this line will often appear to point toward the sun. We can predict when anti-tails will appear and disappear. As Earth moves through the comet's orbital plane, the spike will grow, sharpen, and then vanish over a matter of days. This is exactly what we observe. For 3i Atlas, images from Hubble and other telescopes in July 2025 clearly showed this sunward-pointing feature. So how do we visualize this honestly? A deceptive thumbnail shows an impossible object. An honest thumbnail visualizes the illusion itself. The best visual metaphor is a 3D diagram. The thumbnail becomes an infographic. It shows the sun, the comet, and the flat disk of its dust-filled orbit. And it shows Earth with a line of sight cone passing through that disk. The resulting image, the spike, is shown to be an artifact of the viewing angle. The title isn't, "It has a reverse tail." The title is, "Why its tail seems to point at the sun." The image is not a monster, it is a riddle. It promises to reveal a celestial magic trick, respecting the viewer's intelligence and inviting them to understand the true, elegant geometry of the solar system. Perhaps the most exciting event in 3i Atlas's journey was its close pass of Mars. This is a powerful visual concept, and the deceptive path is obvious. A disaster movie image of the comet filling the Martian sky, or worse, on a collision course. This is a complete fabrication. The honest visual metaphor must represent the scientific reality. On October 3rd, 2025, an atlas passed the red planet. This was not a near miss in the way we think of it. It was a flyby in celestial terms, meaning it came close enough for our assets at Mars to get a world-class view. The true value was not the spectacle, but the unique observational geometry. For decades, we have been studying comets from one primary location, Earth's orbit. This gives us a single, flat, two-dimensional perspective. The Mars Flyby was a profound opportunity to get a second angle. We have a fleet of sophisticated spectrometers orbiting Mars, chief among them ESA's ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, TGO, and NASA's MAVEN and MRO. These spacecraft, designed to study the thin atmosphere of Mars, were repurposed. They turned their instruments away from the planet and stared into the blackness to intercept the light from 3 Atlas. This second angle is not just for a pretty picture, it's for hard data. It allows us to build a three-dimensional model of the comet's coma. By combining Earth's view with Mars's view, we can triangulate the outgassing jets. We can confirm if the Gandal is coming from all over the nucleus, or, as suspected, from a specific active region on its sun-facing side. A deceptive thumbnail shows Mars in peril. An honest thumbnail shows Mars as a scientific outpost. The visual metaphor is not a collision, it is an interception. The thumbnail should be composed like an intelligence briefing. It shows the planet Mars. It shows the comet passing at a distance. And it visually implies data collection. Perhaps a scan line from a tiny rendered orbiter, or a data grid overlay. Even the view from the surface via the Perseverance rover must be handled with discipline. It would not have seen a sky-filling monster. It would have seen a faint, fuzzy streak in its high-altitude cameras. The real science was happening in orbit. The title isn't Comet Nearly Hits Mars. It is What Our Mars Fleet Saw. That promises the viewer what we can actually deliver. Exclusive data, a new perspective, and the solution to a 3D puzzle. The most difficult moments in science communication are not the discoveries, but the gaps, the delays, the uncertainties, and the unconfirmed reports. This is where deception thrives, as the void is filled with speculation. We face two major voids with 3 Atlas. The first is the Solar Superior Conjunction, which began around October the 21st, 2025. This is not a conspiracy, it is a line-of-sight problem. Earth, the Sun, and the comet are in a straight line, with the Sun in the middle. Its blinding light and overwhelming radio noise make all observation from Earth impossible. This observational blackout is agonizingly timed. Isaac Atlas reaches perihelion in late October, its closest and most violent pass by the Sun, while it is hidden from us. It will only reappear in December. A deceptive thumbnail will scream, "NASA hides comet." An honest visual metaphor explains the physics. It's an orbital diagram. It shows the alignment. It frames the Sun as a source of blinding static. The thumbnail title isn't an accusation, it's a frustration. Why it vanished at the worst possible time. The second void is uncertainty. We have unconfirmed, tantalizing reports of nickel, Ni, spectral lines without the expected iron, Fe. In our solar system, these metals are almost always found together. This anomaly, if true, is profound. A deceptive thumbnail shouts, "It's made of alien metal." An honest thumbnail visualizes the data and the doubt. The best visual is the spectrum itself. We show a graph with a clear spike for Ni and a flat line labeled Phi. with a large superimposed question mark. This is the truth. It is an anomaly, a puzzle. The thumbnail title becomes Scientists Baffled by Alien Metal Signature. It frames the story as a mystery in progress, which is exactly what it is. This is media hygiene. We must distinguish institutional delays, the necessary careful work of calibrating data from Mars, cross-checking results, and peer review, from coordinated silence. No, we're doing. The first is the scientific method. The second is a fantasy. Our visuals must build trust by showing that this process of verification is the most important part of the story. We have deconstructed the three core visual elements of the 3I Atlas encounter: the green coma, the anti-tail, and the Mars flyby. We have shown how deceptive visuals are a scientific lie, while honest visuals are metaphors for the truth. A clickbait thumbnail is a one-time transaction. It burns trust. The viewer clicks, feels deceived, and leaves, ensuring they will never trust your channel again. It is a short-term, unsustainable strategy. An honest thumbnail is the start of a relationship. It builds a foundation of trust. When a viewer sees a thumbnail that poses an intelligent question, why is only the coma green? Or, what did our Mars fleet discover? They are not being treated as a target. They are being treated as a partner in discovery. When they click, the video must then fulfill that specific promise. The visual language of the video, the graphics explaining the C2 molecule or the orbital geometry of the anti-tail, must directly answer the question the thumbnail posed. This closes the curiosity gap in a satisfying, rewarding way. This is the power of the honest visual metaphor. It is not just about a single thumbnail, it is about building a consistent, trustworthy brand. The viewer learns that your visuals are not traps. They are clues. They are the key art for the real mystery. The story of 3I Atlas is not one of alien ships or NASA conspiracies. It is a story of orbital mechanics, observational geometry, and exotic spectroscopy. It's about the puzzle of dominance, the ambiguity of the Nephi ratio, and the triumph of our robotic explorers at Mars. By crafting our thumbnails to reflect this, we promise a story of process. We promise to show the viewer how science is actually done. This is infinitely more compelling and more sustainable than a cheap scare. In the end, we are not just trying to get a click. We are trying to earn the most valuable asset of all, a curious, dedicated, and trusting audience